So you want to get better at off the grid? Well, I'm here to give you my 5 top tips to start playing like a pro. Tip number 1, you need to learn what centering is. So centering refers to keeping your crosshair aimed at head level and also pre-aiming where enemies are going to appear. This is a core aiming mechanic that reduces the movement of your mouse or your joystick depending on what you play with. So this is going to help you with faster reaction time in a gunfight. It's going to be less aiming adjustment, and it's just going to, in general, help you have better crosshair placement. Once you get this down and you start practicing this, it will eventually become a force of habit, and you won't even need to think about it. But this works best with whenever you're pairing it with using cover. If you're using cover smartly, you can pre-aim angles to where instantly when you pop out, you don't need to adjust your aim at all. You're already on the enemy, especially around head level, and you can just start shooting. Tip number 2, learn to use your jetpack efficiently. So with the new update, jetpacks are completely changed, and now you can get a lot more lift whenever you're pulling up on your jetpack. So you need to both learn how to fly efficiently so you don't burn out your jetpack quickly, as well as how to take high ground from low ground with your jetpack now. You don't need limbs such as like the leapers or the grapple hook as much as you used to now because of how the jetpack works. So if you're able to learn how to use it efficiently, it can help you take high ground in situations to overtake enemies whenever they're holding down a position, or it can help you chase enemies for further distance, as well as just have better movement overall. The jetpack is like the most important part of your movement kit in this game, so learning how to use it correctly separates a new player from a good player and a good player from a pro player. So how do you use it efficiently? Well, whenever you're pulling up and making your character go up in height with your jetpack now, it's going to use more of your jetpack's energy. So you need to make sure that you're only doing this whenever you need to. My favorite time to use this is whenever I'm trying to overtake high ground from an enemy. Right now, you used to need leapers or a grappling hook or slam fist or something to help you overtake high ground, but now the jetpack can basically do it itself. So whenever you're using your jetpack, if you're pulling up, you can go up a story or two, reset the jetpack, and then go up another story or two. This helps catch people off guard all the time, and it's a mechanic that you definitely should be utilizing, but you need to understand that you're going to burn out your jetpack extremely quickly this way. Tip number 3, use the meta. Now this one might get overlooked for a lot of people, mainly because they don't put enough time into the game. They don't pay attention to what other people are using or try to learn, and they just want to pick up the game whenever they get on and just play. But actually, this hurts you a lot. If you're not using what is currently extremely strong in the meta, you're going to be playing at such a significant disadvantage that you're going to be missing out on a ton of kills and a lot of wins. So my suggestion is go to one of the current people streaming, see what they're using, compare it to the other streamers. Most of them will be willing to just answer your questions. If you ask what the meta is, I'm sure that they'll show you their loadout, or they'll have a clip of it that you'll be able to look at and see what the current loadout is. But yeah, using the current meta loadout will help you improve your game significantly. It's not something to turn your nose at. And basically every BR, it's like this. If you're not using what is really good, you're playing at a significant disadvantage. So always learn what the current meta is. If you're coming back from a long break, this is really important because you could be using something that is terrible compared to whenever it used to be great. So it's something to always pay attention to. Tip number 4, get your loadout quickly using missions. The time that it takes a really good player to get their loadout in the first couple minutes of the game versus someone who is just looting chest to chest is significant. You're going to be wasting 5+ more minutes than a good player trying to find your loadout going chest to chest versus doing the missions quickly and getting your loadout in the first couple of minutes of the game. There are 3 that are really good. If you are good at killing people, you need to be going for the bounties. Bounties get you the most. You kill one team, you get your full loadout quickly, you're good to go. Net runners are a very safe and beneficial mission to do. You find the net runner, you do the combination of keys to complete the mission, and then after that, it shows you where the next zone will be, so it helps you in the later game by showing you what positioning you should be taking, where you should be rotating on the map, as well as giving you around $3,000 in cash, which is about what you need to get a loadout. The last one that I would do is the drone missions, where they pop up randomly, but you pick up one of these missions and then a flying drone will appear nearby. You go, you shoot down that drone, you claim the loot, and then it will give you cash for doing that. And it also gives you quite a bit of cash. So these 3 missions will all give you right around the amount of money that you need to be able to get your loadout in the early game. And if you land on one of these and do it almost immediately, you can get your loadout in the first 3 to 4 minutes of the game. Tip number 5, learn how to finesse in gunfights. So what does this mean? So finessing is basically learning how to play around cover, how to create space from your enemies, and basically just use your environment around you to create an advantage over the other person that you're fighting. And so I'll give you a couple examples. Say you get shot at the beginning of a gunfight, and you lose your plates, and then the other person is trying to rush you, and you need to back up, create space, and get plated. So say you have roadrunners. What you would do here, since you can plate while using roadrunners, my favorite thing to do is just activate my roadrunners, immediately start plating, and run away and get behind cover, and then retake the gunfight, re-challenge them after I'm full. They'll be caught off guard because they'll have given up their good positioning to push you to fight, and you'll get to take the fight on your terms. Uh, this also works with leapers. You can leap away up into the sky, begin your flight, get around a building or cover, and while you're flying and going towards the ground, you can plate. Uh, this is especially good if someone is chasing you and you can take high ground, you can get plated, and then they have to push high ground, so you have an advantage over them, can immediately start taking the fight on your own terms. Essentially, finessing is just trying to take the fight on your own terms, as well as just creating an advantage from a disadvantage, or creating an advantage from a gunfight where normally you're on equal terms. Here are a couple bonus tips. I asked some of the MERC guys, WhatAWeek and PublicSorrow, for their opinions on what are their best tips. WhatAWeek added a good one. He said, try to identify the mistakes that you make. If you lose a game or a gunfight, try to take a mental note of what you could have done instead to win that gunfight. He says he does this every time he dies, and it helps him reduce the amount of repeat mistakes. This is a really good one that can be carried over into any game that you play that is PvP. You should always be looking at the situation that you died from or you lost the game from and try to learn from it. Making a mental note of what you did wrong and what you could change will help you remember in the next time you're in a similar position on how to not repeat that and how to make better use of the situation. PublicSorrow said, pretty basic for BRs, but buy your teammates back. Paying attention to their death timers as well. If both of your teammates are out for 30 plus seconds and you have enough cash to buy them, you may as well go ahead and buy them early, since things can go south pretty quickly. This is a good one too. I'll add on to this. You should always just be making a note of when your teammates are both dead, how long they have until they respawn. One of the most annoying things about playing with random teammates in off the grid is whenever you're like 3 seconds away from respawning and the last person alive decides to go take a gunfight and then they die and then you lose the game when you could have been respawned in just a couple seconds. So I think always paying attention to that will help you last a lot longer in like every game that you play. Hopefully you guys are able to take some of this and implement it into your game and become a better OTG player. If you guys have any more suggestions for players, leave them down in the comments below. I'm sure people are always looking at better ways to improve their game. And yeah, hopefully you guys are able to take something from this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.